Good evening. All right. Welcome to tonight's Shocker Family Table Talk. Tonight's session, we are talking about your Shocker's health, and it's focused on helping you support your students' well being, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, throughout their collegiate journey here at Wichita State. And so we know that student success is deeply connected to student well being, and families play a critical role in that journey. I am Alicia Newell, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs. I am a proud Shocker alum here at Wichita State. I have been with the university for about 20 years, and I absolutely love the work that we get to do. And I guess a piece about me is I am a first generation college student. And so being able to share this information with our families is a pretty special to me because as a first gen student, having someone to help my parents navigate that process was really pivotal in my own personal experience. And so we're excited to be able to bring this information to you tonight. With me is my partner in crime, Kim Samlin, who I'll turn it over for her to introduce yourself. Many of you have already met us if you've attended New Student Orientation. So Kim, go ahead and take over, and then we'll jump in with Nurse Heather, who is everything student health at Wichita State. And yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Sandlin. I serve as the Director of Student Success. I tend to have connection issues at home. I try to do these at home because I'm a parent too, and I get it, but this might be the last one I do at home. So if I turn off my video, it's because I'm trying to reconnect and not have the circle of dooms. So anyway, I'm glad to be here again with you all tonight. And this is usually a pretty active topic for our parents. Lots of really good questions and things that are very unique to each family. You've probably heard this from me before. I'm also an alum, had a great experience here, have been on campus about 26 years. And so I've been around a long time, heard a lot of questions, seen a lot of things. So whatever questions you have for us tonight, whether it's related to student health or your Shocker's health, or other things that you may be wondering about, orientation-wise, housing-wise, all of that good stuff, let us know. We're here with you for the next hour or so. And now I'll turn it over to Nurse Heather.
Hello, parents. My name is Heather Stafford. I'm the Director of Student Health Services. I've been here almost, actually, I'm just finishing my 19th year. That goes fast. And I'm here to tell you about the medical services on campus. We are located in the Student Wellness Center, which is within the YMCA on main campus. And in the Student Wellness Center, Student Health Services is on the main first floor. The second floor is counseling and psychological services. And we also have Hope Services within the building who do a lot of health education and prevention work on campus in regards to health and wellness. Slide. Thank you. So what is student health? We're basically a medical clinic, just like what you experience at with your own physician and medical providers. We are considered a primary care clinic. We focus our attention on students, but we also see staff and faculty. We are very affordable and very convenient right here on campus. Our providers are specifically trained to treat college health students and their needs, meaning it is a very well-rounded and comprehensive program that you aren't going to see in a community facility or organization in town because they're not going to be aware of disability services on campus, how to send your student to the care team for some resources, or the Shocker Locker, or us working in collaboration with counseling and psychological services since they're in the same building with us all the time. So your student has a really easy pathway to adulthood by coming to see us, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. We do a lot of injury and illness care that can include wrapping ankles, giving crutches, suturing for cuts, doing IV fluids for dehydration, stomach flu, and a lot of chronic illness management, which can include numerous things. It could include asthma, diabetes, thyroid situations. And then we can also do a lot of mental health and medication management as well. We have an on-site laboratory, on-site drug room, institutional drug room pharmacy, which is our version of a pharmacy. We are not licensed like a commercial pharmacy, such as like a Walgreens or a CVS. We can only take prescriptions from our own providers, but it's really simple. If your student has a prescription they want to get filled with us while they're here, they just make an appointment with one of our providers. Sorry, my lights just went out because I'm really standing or sitting still here. And then they can easily get a new prescription from us. We have on-site radiology for x-ray and ultrasound that come in daily. Vaccinations we provide, tuberculosis screening and testing, a lot of specialties, and gynecology, athletic training, physical therapy. We have a registered dietitian, a chiropractor, and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner who does our mental health medication and ADHD medication management. Patient account specialist, she helps a lot of our students who maybe acquire more medical bills than they are getting assistance with, either through insurance or other methods. And so they really work with our students to make sure that they have the least out-of-pocket expenses as possible. And finally, some of our extra health promotion and education things that we do. We have a Wellness to Go vending machine that's located in the Heskett Center on campus, has over-the-counter medications. And we also have a bi-weekly newsletter that we put out to the campus. Next. Our MyShocker Health Patient Portal, your students will get really accustomed to using this portal. It does a lot of amazing things for us, and all of our students are basically online all the time, so it works well for them. They can get on and make appointments online. They'll get text message reminders about their appointments. They'll get text messages when a healthcare provider has messaged them so they can communicate. They get test results and educational handouts and different things like that through the portal. The portal is also used to upload their medical information. Let's say your student has some testing that they did in high school for ADHD and they want to upload that formal testing document. They can upload it anytime into the portal and we will see that, and that will assist our psychiatric nurse practitioner to prescribe medications for your student. And then we have a couple of health requirements that we'll talk about here shortly, and your students will use the portal to upload those health requirements as well. The medication services, like I talked about earlier, it all is attached to our institutional drug room. We have prescriptions, and a lot of prescriptions, even antidepressants, as well as antibiotics, antivirals, steroids, lots of contraception. And also, along with that, we have a lot of over-the-counter medications. On our website, which is wichita.edu/SHS, we have a list of a lot of our over-the-counter medications. They are really cheap. If your student is not used to allergies and they move to Kansas in August and then September they start having allergy problems, they can come to us and get a bottle of Claritin, a 30-day supply, for $2.77. Just for an example of how cheap the medications are. Mental health medication management, we don't require formal testing, and we don't require that they have to go see anybody to get a formal diagnosis. They just meet with our psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and then she can do some screenings and decide then, what type of medication is best for your student. We do not have ADHD medications in our pharmacy. That's a controlled substance, and we do not carry controlled substances. The Wellness to Go vending machine, there's a link for that also on our website. And it has a list of all of the items that are for sale in the vending machine. Quite a few items are actually free for students. And then if your student has any sort of medication that they have delivered to them by mail, your student is responsible for their own medication. It's very easy to have medication delivered to them, either from pharmacies in town to Shocker Hall or the suites, or an apartment off campus. And then they can also, work with us if there's any specialty medication that they need assistance with. We do desensitization allergy injections for students who are already established with their allergist, and we just work with that allergist to get those finished for them here at Student Health. Payment options in Student Health, pretty easy. Cash, credit card. The credit card has to have their student's name on it if they use it in facility. If they use it online in our My Shocker Health patient portal, it doesn't really matter who the name is on it at that point, apparently. So it's pretty easy to use a credit card that way with a parent's name on it. If they have a health savings account card that is associated with your health insurance, we do take HSA cards, and they can use that here as well. Or your student may just decide they just feel terrible and they don't want to pay right now. They can have those fees put on their student account, and those could be paid either on a monthly basis or when financial aid comes through as well. We don't require health insurance at the clinic. We do file claims for all health insurances. We are in network with all Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, United Healthcare Student Resources, but we do file claims for everything, so everything could be applied to your deductible at least. So here are the health requirements. These are pretty simple to obtain and are pretty easy for your students to complete. All new students, regardless of where they're from or what they're doing, have to complete a tuberculosis screening. This is a 4-question questionnaire that was sent to them when they registered for orientation. They can also access this through their MyWSU portal, and more information will be sent to them pretty much every month for the next 3 months until the 20th day of classes, of which if they still have not completed that just 4-question questionnaire, their account will be put on hold and they're not able to register for the next semester. So it's really important that this requirement is done, and this is for all new students. There is a meningitis documentation for students living in on-campus housing, and we'll talk about that next. And then we always, as nurses, we have to recommend all adult vaccinations. We strongly encourage your students to look at their immunizations and check to make sure that they have 2 measles, mumps, and rubella vaccinations. It's probably on their high school transcripts. You probably have some kind of portal with your own physician that you can get a hold of those documents. There is measles in Kansas. It's not a large amount, but like a lot of states right now in the United States, there is measles that, we all have to watch out for as a public health. The meningitis requirement for housing students, and this is just for on-campus housing, but I do always encourage all students to consider getting their meningitis vaccinations updated. The actual requirement is a documentation requirement. And what that is that you have to submit a documentation of a meningitis ACYW type that has been given to the student after the age of 16. So it covers them at least through the 1st and 2nd year of college. And this document has to be uploaded into our My Shocker Health portal. Another option is to upload a meningitis vaccination waiver. And this waiver can be found on our website at wichita.edu/SHS. And on the right side, there's a link for forms, and that form can be found there. These documents have to be uploaded into our My Shocker Health portal. Every week, we go through and check everyone's status who has a current contract with the housing office. And every other Monday, reminder emails have been sent. So if I can tell you anything about your students today, make sure they check their MyWSU emails. Because if they're still non-compliant, they're going to continue getting those emails saying they're non-compliant for the meningitis requirement, and they need to figure out why that is. If they upload a document into our My Shocker Health portal, we probably message them through the portal to let them know if it was not a applicable vaccination and that they need to come up with another either vaccine with their physician or upload a waiver, whatever it may be. We will let them know that it wasn't compliant. And then once your student is compliant, that's all they have to do for the meningitis. Confidentiality is huge. We are a medical facility. We all have to maintain HIPAA Privacy Act requirements as a healthcare clinic. All medical records are strictly confidential. They don't get shared with the student's record on campus. All students 18 years of age or older are considered adults, and that means that you, as well as a parent, does not have access to their records. This is a great opportunity for you to encourage your student to manage their healthcare on their own while they're under the nice, safe bubble of being with us at Student Health. We do a lot of education with your student in regards to their medical diagnosis. We have a 30-minute appointment, and this gives us time to talk to them about the diagnosis, to talk to them about any lab work that we're going to do, any medications that they may need for that particular diagnosis. And we give them a lot of information. If it's something where maybe they sprained their ankle, we'll give them the medical supplies. We'll do an x-ray while they're here. And then we might suggest, hey, you might get in contact and submit a report or a form to the Office of Accommodations so that that office can make sure your student has access to maybe some transportation once classes start on campus, or maybe they need some time to stay away from like their dance class or whatever that may be. So what I'm asking is that parents try and let your students navigate this healthcare on their own while they're here. The only caveat to that, I say, is that if your student has a chronic illness that they have difficulty managing on their own, then I would encourage you to come with your student when you're here for orientation or for move-in in August and have them sign a release of information to authorize us to give information to you as a parent. But I only encourage that if maybe they're a diabetic that needs a little bit more support with that illness, or maybe it's something that they have a really hard time managing and you just want to help them through that. Proxy forms that are signed for financial aid and given to parents are not valid at Student Health. That's a completely different process and not the same thing as signing a HIPAA authorization to release form. Emergency contacts are listed in the student system, and we will contact you if there is an emergency. Any student who's still the age of 18 or under will need to have their parents sign a consent to receive treatment. If your student is going to be 17 when they start school here, I would encourage you and your student to have that form signed and uploaded into our student portal so that we can go ahead and treat them if they come in to see us, and we don't have to call and ask for your permission first. And all those forms can be found at www.wichita.edu/SHS. Is this the form they will need to fill out? Record release form PDF. You can find it on our wichita.edu/SHS website under our forms on the right-hand side drop-down. And under there, you will find the release of information. Your student, though, has to sign that if they are 18 years of age or older. That's for the student to sign. And I would have a conversation with your student just to make sure that they understand and that they know what information that they want us to share with you. So Student Wellness Center, we are located in the YMCA on campus. We're available 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. This QR code gives you access to a nice page, maybe some packing tips for your student, packing a first aid kit, some over-the-counter medication, some things to check in with your student on throughout the first semester maybe. This is all of our contact information. We'll take good care of your student while they're here. And if you have any questions, I can answer in the comments as we go. I think I answered one already about the record release form. Well, I'm going to stay on, so if there's any questions as we go, just let me know and I can answer them. Maybe a couple of other things that you might want to know about is that throughout the year, we tend to have, some free testing events. We do some free STI testing events for sexually transmitted illnesses. We might have, if our students complete surveys for us, we'll have free stuff. So you might have your student check in on that. Your student should always check the My Shocker Blast link that comes out 3 times a week, and they'll see our newsletters on there. Gives lots of health information for them as well.
All right. So I just put out there for folks to drop any questions they may have in the chat. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Samantha Tedder, who serves as our, I may get this wrong, Sam, our clinical associate director, right, for our counseling and psychological services here on campus. And Sam's going to talk a little bit about what our CAPS department, what services they provide, how students go about connecting with their department, and then how can you transfer services over to get your student connected with them as they prepare to embark on this journey with us. So here we go.
Thank you, Alicia. Hi, everyone. So yes, my name is Samantha Tedder. I am one of the licensed counselors at Wichita State Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS, because that's a mouthful. And I am the associate director and the clinical director. So many hats are worn. So today we're going to specifically talk about what services we offer at CAPS and how your student can get started. All right, so just kind of a general overview. CAPS offers affordable individual therapy, couples therapy, and group therapy. We do not, different from student health services, we do not deal with insurance at all. Our sessions are just $10 for an individual appointment. And even if $10 seems too stressful for your student, we can offer a sliding scale fee. We are not going to turn a student away if they cannot pay the $10. We want to make sure that therapy is helpful and not an added stressor. So if your student is looking to begin therapy services, they can schedule their first appointment directly online. I'll have that link later, but it is wichita.edu/CAPS. And all of our services are provided by either licensed counselors or they are supervised by licensed counselors. In addition to the individual therapy services, couples therapy, and group therapy services, we also offer crisis services. So CAPS is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And we have designated times during our regular hours that if a student comes in needing a crisis appointment, meaning they don't have any appointments scheduled with us, they maybe have never seen us before, but they are determining to be in a crisis, they will come into the center or they can call and say, I need a crisis appointment. Someone on the phone will walk through what's going on a little bit just to get an idea, to figure out what is going to be the best need for that student at that time. And then they will be scheduled that day, if not the next day, for a crisis appointment. 9 times out of 10, we can get them in the same day. Can you go back for me, Alicia, actually? And then also, if your student is in crisis, and it is outside of those normal business hours, that is when we have these crisis resources here. We do not have around-the-clock services for students, so we really rely heavily on those national and local crisis services. So those types of situations, we would direct them to using 988, which is the suicide lifeline. There's also the crisis text line, 741-741. And then also not listed here is Wichita's local crisis center, which is ComCare. Every time a student comes in for their very first appointment, these resources are given to them and these are reviewed so that they know how to access those. You can go ahead now. Okay. So yes, we are a college counseling center and we can do quite a bit as a college counseling center. I always want to advocate that we are not your average Joe college counseling center. We like to think that we are a one-stop shop where all of your students' needs can be met. It's very rare for us to refer someone out. The only times that we would refer someone out is if we think that they are needing a higher level of care, whether that be we deem that they are not at a place to take care of themselves safely. So that might be hospitalization or something extreme like an eating disorder that we're concerned for their safety and their health. We would refer out for that reason as well. Or if there was some type of level of substance use that was needing a safe detox facility. Other than that, we're going to treat it all. Anxiety of all kinds, depression, they're struggling with adjusting, all kinds of relationship challenges, going through identity concerns, substance use in general. We do treat all kinds of mood disorders and often suicidal ideation. We do not shy away from asking those straightforward questions to ensure your student is taking care of themselves as best they can. Let me see here. The nice thing about where we're located, we are right upstairs from student health. So Heather was just talking about all the things that they can do. That's just the floor below us. Counseling is upstairs, student health is downstairs. And so one of the beautiful things about that is that we work very closely hand in hand with student health services for medication management. Students do not have to see a counselor if they are wanting to start medication or just continue their medication. However, it is always great to do both of those together. So it's very common for us to be referring folks down for medication if that is what the counselor thinks is going to be best for that student. You can go ahead to the next slide. So this, that doesn't look nice. So counseling and psychological services, it just says you can visit us at Student Wellness Center located in the Steve Clark YMCA on campus. I love that we have this on campus. It helps reduce stigma for students who are maybe nervous to come to the counseling center for the first time. It's the YMCA. So on one side, you've got the YMCA, and then the other side is student health on the first floor and then counseling on the second floor. So if you have a student nervous about coming in there, they could be going for all kinds of wellness. Our phone number is listed there, and we are open again Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And our website is wichita.edu/CAPS. We only see enrolled students. So if you have a student that's starting classes in August, we would have to wait until August once classes start for your student to begin services with us. I encourage parents who have their students already and who have a history of mental health. If you're wanting to get your student set up, you can go online or you can have your student call to set up an appointment in August. And it's also good practice to have that student's medical records, prior therapy records, faxed over to us. And I don't have our fax number listed. Our fax number, I'll put it in the chat, is 316-978-3517. I'm sorry about that. But that is, I think, everything that I have. Students are encouraged to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, now called X, where they can kind of get familiar with our center. We post all kinds of videos for outreach, some of which are images of what our center looks like. So if that would help your student familiarize themselves with our center and make them feel more comfortable, that is also a good place for them to get familiar. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Alicia, I think you're on mute.
Yay! So thank you, Sam. One of the questions we typically get from parents is if they're not sure if their student's going to need your services, should they still upload their medical documentation or should they wait until that need is needed? And I think that kind of goes for both of you, because we get that often at orientation. My student may want to transfer services for a therapist, but they're still hesitant, or they have a health condition, but it only flares up every now and then. And so what's your recommendation on those types of things?
I'll go ahead and start with the counseling and therapy side of things. My suggestion would be not to do that until your student is ready to begin therapy services. We would not create a profile for your student until they come through our doors. That's a little bit different than student health. Student health has a portal, and I can let Heather talk more about that, but CAPS doesn't have that. So there isn't necessarily a place for them to give us that information until they seek us out and are ready to get started.
And I would say, if it's a chronic illness that the student, typically like has a specialist for, or is on significant medication for, I would probably either just upload the most recent visit. I wouldn't take a whole medical record chart and have them upload it, but the most recent visit from that specialist or primary care physician. But the other thing that they can do is beforehand, they can get into the portal and they can enter in medical history information, allergies to medications, all the medications that they're on, and they can enter that stuff in themselves and have it listed instead of having to go through uploading everything. I'm going to put in the chat here. Oops, I did something bad. I don't know. Anyway, it is the wichita.edu/upload-health-docs. And it has instructions on how to upload health documentation into the portal if your student thinks, and your specialist and all of that thinks that would be a good idea to do. I would say that when it does come to specialists, I would still probably make sure your specialists know where the student's going to school, because if there was anything that we have questions about, we were probably going to call the specialist, and you might want to warn them that they're going to school in Wichita, Kansas, and there's a student health clinic there. They may be in contact.
Perfect. I think one of my advices, I guess, in kind of helping to coordinate care between the two offices with the university's care team is that if your student's coming and they have maybe some sort of allergy, or maybe they have past mental health challenges that they've struggled with, putting in a care report in advance, just giving us a heads up that we had one semester a student who came that had epilepsy, and they had an episode while in the resident hall. And the thing that was really helpful was that the parent told us in advance that the student had epilepsy and what medication they were on, things that we needed to do. And so when we were notified that this happened, that information was available at our fingertips. And so that's something that we're able then to hand off to Nurse Heather and her crew, or the EMS, whomever it may be, just so we can make sure that we have that information at an in-time need. And so that is another option as well. Another question that came in, I think for Nurse Heather is, do you see students from out of state discover that they have new allergies since we're such an allergy place?
Yes. Can I kind of throw something in for the last comment that you were making? Is along with the care team report, I would also encourage you to do an Office of Accommodations report, especially if you have food allergies, or maybe, even epilepsy. It's always good to have that information loaded in all of the different places, because, when they need help with academics or anything, that information is already there. You're already connected to that department. And I would say if you have a student who is having trouble with allergies, just in any other state but Kansas is the #1 state for allergies. It happens in the spring, in the summer. I have them all year long. And so what I usually try and tell people is, what you think might be a cold, if you have never experienced allergies before, it could very well have started just with allergies. And we can definitely help students with that. And I'm going to answer this question, if that's okay, from Bryant Warren. Yes. Every so often, we still have trouble with the ADHD access. We don't house ADHD medications in our pharmacy. We are an institutional drug room, and we cannot have controlled substances like stimulants such as Adderall and Ritalin. But our providers are really good about calling around and seeing where they can find access to those medications. There's a lot of different pharmacies in town that we can search and help your students find. I find that controlled substances are sometimes really hard to get, but there's other medications that can be used as well. We have some non-stimulant medications that a lot of our students are using right now, and we actually have samples of some of those medications in our clinic. And those are really good options for your students. But if your student has been on those stimulants, we wouldn't try and talk them out of it. We would try and help them find it, but we don't carry them in our pharmacy.
And so one of the things is I just want to kind of highlight is these two departments are probably, I'm going to say, my on my top within the university in regards to just the level of support and care that they provide to our students. When we look at the historical aspect of mental health and well-being on campus, the amount of work that we're doing just around health and wellness in general has been phenomenal over the past, I'm going to say really, 5 to 10 years. And having a lot of our students come in and just willingly wanting to seek help definitely has a different impact on the work that we're able to do with them. But what I will say that is unique is that, and I think, Heather and Sam both touched on this, was the fact that they are co-located in the same building. And so a student can go and have a therapy session with their therapist and talk about they're feeling on edge, they're not sleeping, they're feeling agitated, and then they can go downstairs and have their mid-management appointment with student health to talk about needing to adjust that prescription. And so being able to have the two offices be able to coordinate services and support one another and the student in that same space is really unique and amazing for us to be able to do all at the same time. Also, students feel a little bit more connected when they're able to say, hey, let's walk upstairs and go meet, Dr. Leonard or whomever it may be, right? And so that's just a really unique thing that we have that is probably one of my favorite things about Wichita State. The other thing would be is that we have some more here in the chats. I'll bring this one up. Are there any issues with students having controlled substance in their dorms for ADHD, anxiety, etc.? I think both of you can kind of answer that because it kind of falls on both of you.
I'm going to jump in here, Sam. No, your students can have any medications that they need, and nobody is, checking those or controlling those. What I would say, I'm probably overstepping Sam here, though, we have medication locking bottles that if we're prescribing ADHD medications to your students, we give them one of these medication locking bottles so that they can keep those stimulants secure, or any other medication really that they want to keep secure. I have told parents in the past, if it's something that you're concerned about, there is numerous different devices online that you could purchase to keep medications locked up, but I'm pretty confident that there shouldn't be any issues with that.
I have no notes. I agree.
All right.
Go ahead and answer this next one too. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We do have physical therapy on campus. Some of the faculty, staff from the physical therapy department, they come over and see our students once to twice a week, depending on the week. And so that is available for students. If your student is an athlete, they have their own process for physical therapy. OT, occupational therapy, no, we do not. That's not typically something we have available here, but there are opportunities for us to, we refer students to different specialties all the time within the Wichita community. And being a large city like this, there's lots of opportunities. We also make sure that we check to see if your insurance covers those different entities as well. And that your student will know, okay, you might need a prior authorization, you might have a deductible that you have to meet first, blah, blah, blah.
I wanted to also add something that I had forgotten with regards to our therapy sessions. CAPS offers both in-person and online sessions. So if for whatever reason your student was not able to come to campus for an appointment, or if your student, if for whatever reason it just makes sense for the appointment to be online, we can do that. The only caveat to that is that they have to be located within the state of Kansas. Our licensed clinicians aren't allowed to practice outside of the state of Kansas. So lots of options.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I always love seeing at the end of the year is how many students are actually messaging our nurse practitioners and folks in student health and CAPS for appointments and just saying, I don't feel well. What do I do? Or, hey, I got this thing that looks like a rash on me. Do I need to come in? And it's nice because they've like, that's something a lot of students, it's their first time doing, but they're taking advantage of really making connections and taking responsibility for their health. And so that is a phenomenal resource as well for students, especially as a parent. Heather she is a proud Shocker mom as well. She has a student here, Bria, who is amazing. And I think just as a parent going through this as well, for her, and seeing her daughter, experience this, and then from the mom perspective, it's really interesting, I think, right, Heather? I'm on the opposite end of my daughter's getting ready to start college, but seeing them actually take and this is one thing Heather, I think, was sharing in orientation a couple weeks ago, was have your students start scheduling their own health appointments. And so if your student hasn't received their meningitis shot, have them schedule that appointment. Have them go and check in by themselves. I did this with my daughter, and she completely was overwhelmed. Like, what do I say? What do I do? And I think, looking back, we spend so much time in all of our offices really just coaching our students on what to say, where to go, how to, kind of show up. And that is a big part that you can do now and preparing your students to come. And so I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to that, either of you, but that's something that I'm seeing on our side, is that students really struggle with taking that first step on their own.
We have a YouTube channel, and on our YouTube channel, we have a lot of how-to videos. And my new assistant director, Kimberly Vermillion, did a bunch of videos on how to make an appointment at Student Health, how to use an insurance card, what does your insurance card say, how to read that, what does it mean, the information that you're reading, how to pay a bill, different things like that. And so there's also other stuff like what to do for sleep and allergies and different things. So that's a resource, but we also kind of guide them through it. The business operations staff that we have who answer the phones, I think Sam could agree, they give good information, kind of explain to them what's going to happen when you come into your appointment, and maybe some things that you need to do ahead of time. When we have students who come in for just a regular primary care appointment for, let's say they have a cold, we still do some mental health screening on all those appointments, and those that are getting mental health medications, they'll get 2 sets of screening sent to them before their appointments that they complete online before they arrive. So there's just some different things that we help them prepare for.
So speaking of that, there was a question of, do students need to upload their insurance card in the student health portal?
That would be fantastic ahead of time. If you can get us another card to give to your student before they arrive, that would also be good for them to carry it. You might explain to them what this means, especially if you're from out of state. If your student is on any sort of state Medicaid plan, typically you can't use that Medicaid plan in other states. If your student is Blue Cross Blue Shield from another state, we can file that insurance and considered in network. But like I said before, any insurance plans we're still going to file because we want this to be attributed to their deductible, help pay that down, to help you in other situations within your family. But I always encourage students to, upload that insurance card ahead of time, so when you're not feeling good, you don't have to worry about it.
And I received a question at orientation on Tuesday, I think it was. And this is for you, Sam. Was our families able to utilize their like flex savings account, like HSA card to pay for therapy on campus?
Absolutely. If they have that card with them on file, or not on file, but if they have that card with them, they absolutely can. Students typically have the option to pay at the time of their appointment, or it's sent to their student account, and then they can take care of that at a later time. So there's plenty of options. It can be with an HSA card, it can be with a debit or credit card, and it can even be cash.
Perfect. All right. Well, it looks like we've answered majority of the questions that have come in. I'll just, say if there's any other questions. Kim is having some technical difficulties here. I'll bring her in case she wants to add anything in on her side, Miss Sandlin.
Yeah, I will try and hope you can hear me, even though I'm a circle. I'm still here. Wanted just to mention one of the things that my son got when he graduated. His aunt is a nurse, and she made him a mom box, and it had a thermometer in it. Things in it so that they're prepared and have that, know that where that is, everything's ready to go. Of course, you want to take, inventory of your expiration dates, but I thought it was a really great idea. So that may be something that you want to consider giving your student as they are coming out. So hopefully you caught all of that. I know I'm probably cutting out. Sorry.
I can't hear anything.
But those mom boxes by
Sam, can
nurses. Okay.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what Kim was saying, is that her student is also an incoming freshman this year. And one of the gifts he received for graduation was a wellness box that had a thermometer, some medications, things like that in there. And so, Heather, is there any tips on what parents should pack or include with their students as they, kind of gear up with those shopping lists for move in, which is around the corner?
Yeah, if you want to put our last slide on, it has that QR code that goes to our advice for new parents. And it has items for a packing list, especially a thermometer. Don't forget to send a thermometer with your student. Sometimes we can give out disposable ones. And it also has some other things to keep in mind, just to check in with your student now and then. Are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you being careful of, driving and where you're parking your car and, all those different kind of things that you probably don't think of when you first move in. But a couple months later, when your student's adjusted, they might be studying so much they're not sleeping. And so just kind of checking in on them and making sure that, they're doing all the same things that they would have done if you were around them at home.
Yeah. I think that's a really great reminder. Sorry, Sam.
That's okay.
Implemented Kennedy Rogers within our strengths and assessment department implemented this new initiative this year, and it's called Momentum Mail. And so if you have a chance to come to orientation, we have a deck of 10 postcards available for families to pick up. And it's just momentum reminders of, hey, I'm thinking of you. You're doing great. You're only as strong as you think you are. And so it's a lot of the mental toughness and mental just that, hey, you got this type of reminders to send to students, because like Heather said, sometimes it's just that little nudge we got to give to them to remind them, like, hey, like, you got this. Care packages are huge. When they're stressed, that check-in of, are you sleeping? How much sleep are you getting? Especially if they're on new meds or just have a change with the transition and environment. If they're having a hard time getting to sleep, that, there could be some anxiety there, things happening. And so definitely checking in with our wellness folks on campus can make a huge difference. Anything else you want to add, Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's also a kind of mental health version of the wellness kit, and we kind of call them distress kits, which are very similar to, I think, a momentum kit, but instead you kind of sit down with your student or encourage them to do this on their own. I encourage clients, whenever I'm working with them, if they haven't done this already, but create a distress kit. And it's usually something similar to a shoebox with things that are in there to basically help them de-escalate when they're overwhelmed. A lot of the times I'll have students put in particular fidget toys, or maybe a list that they made ahead of time of things that they typically do that they enjoy. They might write a letter to their future self to help encourage themselves. Things that, maybe non-perishables, like a gummy snack or some tea, a gift card that maybe they have to go out and get their favorite ice cream or something that's in town. Just something that they can go to when they're overwhelmed and they can't even think straight and they don't know what to do. If not reach out to someone like a friend or a parent, they have this on their own that is all internal coping strategies that they can do on their own to help them get through that really intense moment before seeking out someone else to help them through it.
I would also say that with my student who was in housing, you can also just buy a care pack. Housing puts them together at finals time, has food, snacks, beverages. You can also pick different things to put in there that your student would like, and then you don't have to ship it, you just pay. So that comes in handy.
Yeah. While you were talking about that, Sam, it had me thinking, I saw this video or what have you, and it was called an Open Me When packet. And so very similar to what you're talking about. Open me when you are feeling homesick. Open me when you feel, overwhelmed. Open me when you feel stressed. And it could be a little affirmation note from a family member. It could be something it could be a picture. It could be something special that's just going to be that little pick me up in that moment of when they need it. And so there's a lot of things out there that I think families and folks can do. If you have subscribed to our parent family newsletter, that will go out the once a month. And in our newsletter, we're constantly sharing some of these tips and ideas. Heather's always sending some phenomenal things that she's finding on her listservs for parents. And so make sure you subscribe to that because that's also a great way just to kind of get some additional tips to support your students while they're here at Wichita State. Before we close out, are there any last words of wisdom or advice that either of you would like to share with our families before we call it a night?
Yeah, don't forget to tell them about your Facebook page because a lot of parents connect on there. I try to look if I need to answer something, but it's a really good resource. And then I'm assuming Sam's probably agree with this, but If you're noticing that your student is struggling, don't let them wait till the end of the semester when it's really too late to recover maybe what they've lost, class time, submitting paperwork and deadlines and whatnot, and get in touch with CAPS or even us to get them started on medication. Just stay in touch with them.
As a fellow WSU alum, and a first generation student, if there's anything that I could pass down, it would be to really encourage your student to get involved. I would not have been successful as a student if it wasn't for the extracurriculars that I was doing. Grades are important, and so is the social aspect. It really is. So socializing and having fun is not a what's the word? It's a necessity. That's what I'm trying to say. It is not a luxury. It is a necessity for them to be successful. So that's all I can say.
Find your people.
Mm-hmm.
Find your tribe and love them hard, right? Kim, any last words of wisdom from you?
I hope I don't cut out. No, you guys have been great. I echo what Alicia said earlier. Heather and Sam and their two departments are phenomenal in the way that they are serving our students to a level that you're not going to get on other campuses. So when you come to Wichita State, in terms of wellness, in terms of health, you can rest assured that as long as your student is taking advantage, they are going to be cared for. But again, we can't want your students' health or success more than they want it for themselves. So encourage them to love on themselves and to, want to be healthy in all ways, both outside of the classroom, inside the classroom, on campus, off campus, in all aspects. So you guys do a phenomenal job. No, I actually took some notes as a parent myself to remind me to go to the health portal and get my things done and uploaded too, so that my kiddo can just swing by and we don't have to wait for an appointment at our primary care physician. So we'll be doing that very, very soon. So hope you all have an excellent evening. And that's all for me.
Great. Perfect. So again, thank you for joining us for tonight's Shocker Family Table Talk. I hope, and I think I can speak for my colleagues as well, that you walk away feeling more informed and empowered and confident in the resources available to support your students' well-being at Wichita State. As partners in your student success, we really want you to know that you're never alone on this journey. As parents ourselves, we know that it truly takes a village to graduate a student. And we all are excited to be a part and along of that journey with you. And so whether it's physical health, mental wellness, or navigating a challenging time, please know that our team is here to walk alongside your student and your family every step of the way. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, issues that pop up throughout the summer, don't hesitate to reach out. We are on standby and we look forward to welcoming you and your student to Shocker Nation here in a few short weeks. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to connecting again soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Okay.